Hey guys, welcome back to SLT Learning, and today we're gonna cover another interview question related with API testing and rest assured. So if you are planning for the API automation interview or even the QA automation interview, I would suggest just go through our playlist where you can find all the most frequently asked questions by the different tech companies, and you will see the short description of the answer, how to answer with the syntax which required to answer in that interview question. Okay, so let's we see, and today's question for this particular video will be, what is rest assured and how do you use in your framework? Okay, so this question is mainly asked for the automation profile. Even though if you are applying for a QA automation and API automation, this question will definitely come, because most of the companies, right, use the Selenium for automation, and now if they are working on Selenium, then their aim to use for API testing will be rest assured. Okay, so let's understand what is rest assured first. So RestAssured is a Java-based library which used for the RESTful API testing. Okay, it's provided DSL to simplify the writing of HTTP request and the validation response, and making sure that your API testing are done automatically with the respect to the business scenarios. Okay, so what is DSL? Domain specific language. Okay, so RESTful will be like a Jenkins language if you have seen in BDD, where you can use when, then, and all those things, where you can easily write your test case using the rest assured Java libraries, and just make sure you can do the automation. And like a Java Selenium code, it's kind of code which help you to do the automation testing. Okay, so if they will ask you what is rest assured, that is Java based library which used to automate the RESTful API. Okay, and DSL means domains specific language, which help us to simplify of writing the HTTP request and validate the response accordingly. Okay, so let's we understand how we can implement the rest assured in your framework. So first, let's we talk about the key features that rest assured serves as an automation engineer. Okay, so it supports almost all the common calls like the HTTP method, get, post, put, delete, and fetch kind of request. There are other requests as well, but I just highlighting the commonly used I will just API methods over here. Then easy validation, you can easily validate the status code, headers, response bodies, and response time related parameters in your API automation test case. Then it supports the JSON and XML parsing. So this is the both the data format which mainly used in API testing, the JSON for request and response, and XML for request and response. And rest assured is easy for with the both of the format to do the, I would just say, the HTTP request and response, creating the payload and see the response, and I will just say parsing the response and find the required information for validation. And it can be easily integrated with TestNG, JUnit, Maven, and all those kind of the other automation related key tools. So that is the one of the crucial things. And it support the OAuth and the basic authentication and SSH authentication. So it support almost all kind of the authentication as well, and that makes the good choice and the first choice for the Selenium related automation framework to use the rest assured for their API automation. Okay, so it's very easy to set up the rest assured. If you are not sure, you can just go through the, or I will create the separate playlist for rest assured, because that is very crucial one. But you can just simply go and see the steps. So first, how you can do, you can need to add a rest assured dependency into your project. Okay, so let's suppose if you are working on Maven, so you can under pom.xml you can add this bracket, and this I will just is the dependency code which will have the group ID and the artifact ID will be rest assured, and whatever the latest version you can see. You can find this one from the Maven dependency website as well. By searching the rest assured, it will give you the list of the dependency which support, and you can take the latest version and just copy that code and paste in your pom.xml, and once you will save it, it will download automatically all the required dependency of the rest assured to your project. Once it is done, so what will be the framework? If you are working on core API side, what will be the framework will look like? So you might be have under the test, you might be have a base folder, you have a test folder, you have utils folder, and you have payload folders. Under that you will have different Java class like base test.java, user test.java, then configurator.java, and user payload. So this kind of the different page object wise you can create the folder, and for each and every module wise API you can create a separate folder for payload as well, and you can define the payload over there itself, so you can easily call the payload in your actual test case and you can easily run your test case. Okay, then after, the third one will be, you can create the base class, the base test.class, to set up the URI, authentication method and common configuration. So you see, this is my base test.java class code, kind of this one. So it has defined the HTTP base URL. This will be my base URL, and after that I can put the forward slash, and whatever the endpoint will come, that is depend on the different test cases. But this is look like before class, and this is a setup of, and where I am passing the RestAssured dot base URL. This is coming from the RestAssured dot base URL, and this is the URL I am passing. Okay, now once this is done, then this is what your test class will look like. So you need to extend your base class for your user test. You can extend your base class, and you see over here, then whatever the values you see, get slash user 1, right? So this will get automatically amended with your base URI, and after this one you will just says forward slash, and this endpoint will get added, and whatever the response it will come, you see status response, then given when, then, and then body name equal to John and email. So this is the body validation, the status code validation, the response body validation, and status code validation that we have put. And this response body validation is mainly aimed for equal to, and this one will be content string. So this content string will be there. So this is how you can define the base class, and you can use the in your using the extend keywords, and you can use the base class, base test, and then you can all over like this way. Headers you can pass and all basic. So these are the syntax you should remember, guys, because sometimes they will ask you, okay, can you write your get call method in RestAssured or post call method in RestAssured? So it was always recommended just understand this syntax, and it's very easy, guys, given, when, then kind of stuff. So, okay, now once you will done this one, you can also use the payload. You see the user payload, so where you can set up your payload over here as well. So in a user payload class, let me make it let me little bit zoom to show you. So under user payload, you can just say create user payload or update user payload, create product payload. This kind of payload you can create, and you can set up for yourself, and then you can use this payload. You can extend the payload, and you can use your actual test case. Okay, guys, so this is also related payload. Now util class. So what will be the content in the util class? So in the util class, you will have config.reader. So this is where the barrier token and all, like you can just create a get token, and you can return the barrier token. So this kind of the basic configuration related things, and mainly that will be used for the generating the token and passing the URI and all those things, or the different environments. I will just say staging environment, production environment, and all those things. That kind of configuration will be useful, and that we can define under the util class. Okay, then run the test case using the TestNG.xml, or you can just configure with the CI/CD pipeline that we have seen in one of the questions, where you can use the Maven command, like run Maven test, and you can execute your CI/CD pipeline as well, or you can manually right click on the TestNG.xml, and you can run your RestAssured API automation test case exactly the same way which you can use for the web automation. Okay, so if somebody asks you what is RestAssured and how you can use it in your framework, just go step by step, guys. Project setup, framework structure, how the framework should look like. You define the base class, define the user test class, then define the payload.java where you can store your all the payloads. Then you can define the utilities for the generating the token or generating the other anything that is unique. You can run the test case accordingly. Okay, guys, so if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel, and we will come up with such more videos whenever we have the request from our candidate, like this is the question they has been asking their interview. We will go and definitely create a video for that part.